This video is a little bit late, so I do apologise, but here is my top 10 disappointing movies of 2017. It's a mix really of movies that were okay, but I just found very disappointing, and they were not what I wanted them to be. And there's also a mix of movies in this list which were just really bad movies when it comes to how they were made, how they were crafted, and all of that. So it's a bit of a mix, really. You could call this my top 10 worst / disappointing movies of 2017 if you wanted. But yeah, I didn't see every movie of 2017. So you might be wondering, oh, how come you didn't mention this movie? Because that was a very bad movie. Well, it's because I probably didn't see it. So yeah, there were a lot of movies that I know that if I'd seen them, this list could have been very, very different. Same goes for my top 10 movies of 2017. That could have been a slightly different list as well if I'd seen every single film that was released last year. But anyway, let's dive straight into it. Starting with number 10, it's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Now, Kingsman: The Golden Circle was one of my anticipated movies of 2017. Overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun. And it's one of those movies that I just previously mentioned are in the sort of okay movies. I didn't really give it a bad grade or a really, really bad review. But it was a disappointing experience overall. It was just nowhere. You had the first movie, which was amazing. I absolutely loved the first Kingsman movie, and then you have this sequel, which was just, compared to the original, compared to that first movie, it just was not the same, and it was a really, really, overall a disappointing experience. In at number 9, it's Going in Style. I believe this is a remake, and it came out quite early on in the year. I just remember being very bored. It was supposed to be a comedy. You had all, these big names, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, can't remember the other guy. Well, when you've got talent like that, you expect magic. But no, I remember it being quite a boring experience. I've only seen it once, and like I said, it was right at the beginning of the year, but I remember it being just very, very dull and just a waste of talent. And I can remember the cast, actually. I can remember the likes of Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine trying their damn best with the material they had, and they were probably the best thing about the movie. But overall, Going in Style was just a really unfunny, boring, dull experience. And in at number 8, it's The Great Wall. Another missed opportunity, really. Again, really disappointing more than anything. Like, again, I had a bit of fun. I did have fun with The Great Wall. It was enjoyable to some degree, to some level. But it could have been so much more. The action was entertaining, but overall it's just the script and the narrative and the performances from the cast, including Matt Damon, was just very, very bland. And yeah, even though it was sort of fun to watch, it was just a very, very, a big disappointment, and it could have been a hell of a lot more. So yeah, it's watchable and it's entertaining to some degree, but yeah, just a big, big disappointment for me. Okay, in at number 7, a film that I thought would have been closer to, being number 2 or number 1 even, because it was such a massive, massive disappointment, and you probably know now which movie I'm on about if you've been following me, and that is Justice League. As it is, there were a lot more, there were other films that I thought sort of deserved that top spot or the higher spot in this list. But yeah, Justice League was a crushing blow for me. When it comes to the DC cinematic universe, it's probably my biggest disappointment. Just in front of Suicide Squad, which was a really big disappointment for me. But yeah, Justice League. Yeah, I went to the midnight showing of it, and it's just one of those midnight showings I was like, what a waste of time. It was heartbreaking. I remember it being quite heartbreaking. Yeah, Justice League was everything that I didn't want it to be. And it made me wake up to the fact that, yeah, I think when it comes to DC on film, they've just gone the wrong way about it. And to some degree, they really should have followed in Marvel's footsteps and just gone down the route that they went, which was releasing standalone movies first and building these characters. Enriching these characters and letting you, delve and immerse into their worlds before releasing the, because what Justice League is, like Avengers was for Marvel, is an event movie, and they really, I think they really need those movies. Some people complain it's all to do with the fact that they worrying too much about connecting all the movies together. I think it's nothing to do with that. I just think the way they've gone about it, and the fact that they're worrying so much about tone, again, an issue that I don't think these movies had. I got no issue with the tone. And Justice League was a very sort of, it stood out when it comes to a studio trying to lighten things up to please the masses. Yeah, Justice League in at number 7. I thought it'd be higher up than that, but yeah, a massive, massive disappointment for me. In at number 6, it is Baywatch. Are you surprised this film is in the list? Are you surprised that it's not actually higher up? But yeah, Baywatch, what can I say? You know, a very sort of dull, bland experience. Can't remember it being that funny. Baywatch for me was kind of like eating junk food. You know, when you feel really bad after eating it. That's what Baywatch was for me. After watching it, I felt very, very bad. And in at number 5 is The Mummy, 2017's The Mummy. And when it comes to the top 5 now, it's very, very hard actually to sort of in which order to put them, because these are all for me quite bad movies. And The Mummy was a mix of being a big disappointment and just being a very bad film. Do any of you guys agree? I mean, The Mummy was just a mess. You know, they try inserting this humour in it, and it just didn't work. The humour in this movie was like really sort of, it threw you out of the film, and it was just a very dull and flat experience. Not really, there was no real horror in it as well. I mean, when you got The Mummy, you know, you expect some degree of horror. There was no horror in this film. If anything, the humour that they tried injecting into this film destroyed that. Yeah, even the performances really were very dull, and the action was sort of dull, and I just didn't care for anyone, and it was Tom Cruise was just Tom Cruise, and yeah. In at number 4, it's the latest entry in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Dead Men Tell No Tales. A film I was actually really looking forward to, because I do like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, even the second and third one. Do you know what? I can't even remember the names of them from the top of my head. The third one being At World's End. Dead Man's Chest is the second one, I think. My head have just gone dead. But yeah, everything about Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, just felt very tired and just nothing really different. And it was just more of the same. Even Johnny Depp's performance was very, very bland. He came across as being very bored and very uninspired. That's how I felt with Johnny Depp's performance in this movie as Jack Sparrow. It was just, yeah, a very unmemorable experience as well, because I'm finding it hard to really think and remember this movie. So they did try to capture that magic that the first movie had, and you could see they attempted that, but they just really, really failed at it. They failed to capture that charm, the character and magic of the first movie. It was just a very, very unmemorable experience. It was it's one of those movies actually that was okay. It's enjoyable to some level. Some of the action scenes, especially that first action scene with the bank and the safe, that was a fun action scene. It was a fun moment in the film. But other than that, there was nothing really special about this movie. I just found it a very bland and boring experience. Now, it got even harder for me when it comes to 3, 2, and 1. And yeah, number 3, Transformers: The Last Night. It was, to some degree, like all the Transformers movies, to some level are enjoyable. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you don't enjoy them to some degree, there's, you know, you got big robots fight each other and all of that, and it did, to some extent, it sort of blasts me back to being a child again. But this movie on every level was so bad when it comes to script, performances, narrative, just the way the film is crafted. It's just a very messy, dull experience, and it's, you know, That's all I can say about it. Yeah, the action is sort of impressive as the action always is with Michael Bay movies. So if you just want to sort of turn your mind off, turn your head off, and just be entertained for 2.5 hours. Actually, come to think of it, this film is actually way over. It's too long. It shouldn't be as long as it is. But if you just want to turn your head off, you know, and just have like 2 hours of brainless fun with impressive action, it's okay. But other than that, there's nothing really special about Transformers: The Last Night. It is a mess of a film. Now, this almost got the #1 spot, but something else did. And anyway, Geo Storm. Yeah, Geo Storm for me is not the worst or most disappointing movie of the year. It's pretty darn close. Geo Storm had potential, actually, of being a decent film, and it had a deep underlying message which they didn't particularly use. They sort of introduced you with it, and then they sort of ended with it. And in between all of that, it was just... I'm trying to think of words that are not too... it was like a mess. It was just... It felt like it was in the wrong era as well. It felt like a film that should belong in the sort of the 90s. You know, that sort of B-movie action, end of the world sort of thing with a really bad script. You know, it had very sort of empty characters, dull characters you didn't care for. And in films like this, you really should care for your characters. Bad script. It was just not a really... It was a bad movie. So yeah, Geo Storm for me is in at #2. And in at #1, it is The Snowman. The biggest problem for me when it came to The Snowman was its narrative and the way it was sort of pieced together. It just sort of really made things confusing for you, and it didn't have to. Because really it was quite a simple sort of plot, but they really sort of tried to make it confusing via the narrative, and as a result it just ended up being a bit of a mess, a confusing mess. And yeah, it just didn't really need to be. I was hoping for The Snowman to actually be another Seven, you know, David Fincher's Seven. But even though you could tell it was inspired by movies like Seven, it just failed to sort of reach that level. Yeah, The Snowman was just a mess of a movie when it comes to just the way the narrative was pieced together, the structure of the film. Performances were just very bland. You know, characters weren't developed enough to a point where you could actually care for them. And it was a very difficult film to sit through and watch and follow. Because the way in which the narrative flowed, the way in which they decided to tell the story, it just became very boring and a struggle to really follow the film and care for its characters. And as a result, I think I was actually looking at the time, I felt, you know, I probably could have fallen asleep. It was just a very, very bad movie when it comes to the way it was put together. I actually really liked the soundtrack. If there's anything I did actually like about The Snowman, it was the soundtrack by Marco Beltrami. I really, really liked it. But other than that, yeah, The Snowman was a really, really bad movie, a bad experience. So yeah, that is it, guys. That is my top 10 disappointing worst movies of 2017. What do you guys think of my list? Let me know below. And what are you guys worst movies of last year? Let me know below. I'd really like to know. And remember, if you like what you see and you share the same passions as me, then why not hit subscribe?